Video game music on piano for scrubs, just explaining some basic terms that I use as a mostly self-taught musician who I learned a lot about chord structure from playing guitar actually, and I use the guitar chords on like a pop song or something to figure out the structure of the song on piano. So it's like a shortcut that I don't have to read sheet music, which is really time consuming for me, and it's just more difficult for whatever reason. So I figured I talk about inversions a little bit on some of my videos, like the Zelda, the Link to the Past credits. So an inversion just means you're playing the chord, but you're just playing the notes in a different order. That's all it means. So technically the no inversion of a chord is the root on top. So we looked at C major in the other theory videos so far. So C major chord is made up of C, E, and G. So if we play them in a different order, instead of playing them like this, if we play them E, G, C, this is technically no inversion of the chord. If we move everything up one, basically, so instead of E, G, C, if we do G, C, E, this is now the first inversion of the chord. And then if we move up again, so now we have the root on the bottom, the third, and the fifth. This is the second inversion of the C major chord, so C, E, and G. So basically, if the root is on top of the chord, then it's a no inversion. If the root is on the very bottom of the chord, it is a second inversion. So the only reason I thought that would be cool to explain maybe is a lot of Zelda music, when I would try to listen to it and I couldn't figure out like what the bass was doing, because I try to figure out the bass of a song, and that'll help me figure out like kind of like the most important like touchstones in the music without a lot of other stuff going on, and then that can help me figure out the key. And again, that just figures out like what the building blocks of the song probably are, or at least a good place to start. So a lot of Zelda songs are just playing like a really basic like major or minor chord in order on the left hand, but they're doing them in a different order. So they're just playing them in a different inversion. So it was I wasn't used to hearing that, so it was really hard without looking at sheet music to figure out what was going on. So and then the only reason that they're like inversion, it's good to know, is just that it's just a different, it's kind of a different sound musically. Like if you end a song, a lot of times the song ends on like the root chord, so like C major. Other times the song will end, on that root. But if you end it with like the first inversion, G, C, E, with having this third on top, it just kind of gives it like a lingering. It can be like kind of like a melancholy, or kind of like, kind of like this is unfinished, or leave you with like a different emotion than just like the grand, like a Sergeant Pepper, like just chord that ends ends on the root. So yeah, it's just kind of a different feeling, and it's just good to know. So when you see this stuff in music, you can be like, oh, like this is easy. I know what that is. It's not confusing. So the Link to the Past credits is the left hand the whole time is just doing inversions of really basic, easy chords. So instead of doing C, E, G, the chord is always going 1, 5, 3. So for the first chord, it's C, at the left hand it's C, G, E. And for every chord, it keeps this rotation, whether it's major or minor. So like the E minor goes E, B, G. So like that's E minor, E, G, B. So E, B, G is how its chord goes. So F, F, C, A, and then G, G, D, B. Same thing with the Song of Healing. Song of Healing opens from Majora's Mask, opens with the first inversion of F 3 times. And see, instead of just playing F, C, F, C twice, it does, the left hand does F, C, F way up here, C down here. And instead of just playing E minor here for this part, it does similar E, so it goes E, B, G, E, B. So it could just do that if it wanted to, but he does. And so I always try to keep my hands in like the chord shape of whatever the chord is, even if I'm not going to play all the notes. It just helps me kind of keep things straight in my head. So here I go to this is the E minor shape of the second inversion that I usually play the second inversion of if by default. So that's why inversions are a thing at all. So, oh, and I figured just real quick, I would do the what a seventh is and like why it's important, the 7th chord, especially the minor 7th, because we just talked about Link to the Past. In the A minor, A, E, C. Instead of playing that, we're playing. So the last chord of this stanza is G major. But instead of just playing a G major, I play the I play the G minor 7th to lead back to that. So, like, basically a minor 7th leads really nicely into the root, like Bohemian Rhapsody, G minor, C minor, C minor. And the key of this part of the song is in B flat being right here. So instead of just playing an F chord here, he plays the F minor. Freddie plays the F minor 7th. So the minor 7th is just the major chord with the 7th down a half step to make it minor, because that's what minors do, down a half step. So this would be a major 7th, C, E, G, plus the 7th is B in the scale. Go down a half step to B flat. So C, G, B flat. Yeah, or you could do it like down here. So you could put the 7th below or above. Usually, when you hear like C7, it usually means a minor 7th, just because a major 7th is just not very common. The only time that oh yeah, and that's in Wind Waker too, right? Yeah, so right before in the Wind Waker open. Back to the triumphant Zelda theme in the Wind Waker opening, it's E minor 7th. Just like leads right nicely into the next thing. Yeah, so if you ever hear like C7 or E7 or whatever, it usually means the minor 7th. And even if you're doing a minor chord, like a D minor 7th, same thing. It's the minor 7th. So a D minor, DFA. If you tack on the down 2 half steps, is down a whole step, and that's the C. So that's D minor 7th. Or you could do up here, D minor 7th. Yeah, so again, a D7 usually just means a D minor 7th. Pretty much always that I've seen, if it's a major 7th, it'll say MAG 7. So just assume every C7 you see is a minor 7th. Yeah, so that's only important because, like I said, it's in Wind Waker, and it's in Link to the Past. To go back to the G7th leads back into our C major. So that's all I wanted. I thought that'd be cool to point out that might be helpful. So that's it. Hope that helped.